Now that the new year is here, I'd like to give you some of my goals that I have for 2020, both for the podcast, other podcast projects, YouTube, and a few other things in life. All coming up on this edition of the I Can't See You podcast.
From Studio C, welcome to the I Can't See You podcast with David. He can't see, but he's got a lot to say and a face for radio.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 55 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. Remember, at YouTube, not only will you be able to watch some of my videos once I put them up there, but you can also grab the I Can't See You podcast for the last 5 or 6 episodes and moving forward, in case you're somewhere and you don't have access to your phone if you want to watch online. And of course, there's always ican'tseeyou.com. You can get every episode there as well. I'd like to wish you all a happy and healthy 2020. A lot of things to look forward to this year coming up. And I'm actually very excited for this year. It was not a great ending to 2019 with my mom in the condition that she was before she died. And I feel like it's turning over a new leaf for this year. And I've got some great ideas, and I've got some great things that I'm hoping to accomplish this year, and some things I know I'll accomplish this year. And I'm actually going to start off on a great note tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 1st of January. So the 2nd of January is Jane's birthday. And Liz and I had talked about going up to see her, but it's Liz's first day back to school, and all the kids will be in that day. And it makes it very difficult because they'll be a little bit rammy because of just getting back from the holiday break. So she can't take the day off. So I'm going on my own up to New York to visit Jane. And I'm looking forward to that. We're going to have dinner tomorrow night. She's actually working a whole day. So I'm going up later in the day, and I have a couple of hours beforehand. And I'll probably talk about it in next week's podcast episode, depending on what goes on. At first, I thought the train station where I get in, Penn Station, forgetting that it was just above Madison Square Garden, down around 34th or 36th, somewhere down there. I thought it was at 42nd, so I thought I'd only have a few block walk to where Jane works, and a little bit further walk if I wanted to go to the Museum of Modern Art. So my plan was to go to MoMA and spend a couple of hours there before Jane got done work, and then head over to her offices and catch up with her there. And then we were going to go have dinner, and I was going to catch the train home. But because I'm a little bit further south than I thought I was, and it's probably an extra 3/4 of a mile to a mile, I may go somewhere else that's not as culturally enriching. I mean, I'll enjoy it just as much and maybe more, because Penn Station and MSG are literally just around the corner from a very cool store called B&H Photo and Video. And, I'd always love to look at gadgets, and both for the podcast and video-wise, obviously, if I want to do some YouTube. I saw some cool things, some videos posted the other day on YouTube about some new GoPro stuff, and I'd like to take a look at that. I am hoping to wear my new Rincon iView video glasses tomorrow. Once I finish recording this, I'm going to check to make sure they're charged and ready to go, so hopefully I'll have some video to put on as well. And I just had a stack of papers just fall all over every place here in my office. And so I do hope to have some video to show for tomorrow. And again, video most likely will be posted on Instagram. Remember, Instagram.com/David Benj. And remember, any of my social accounts are at David Benj, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, or the like. I've actually even started a group or a page on Facebook for I Can't See You. I don't believe I have any content there. I'm trying to figure out how to get my podcasts to upload there directly, so it's just one more place you can find them. And again, there's plenty of places you can find the podcast if you don't get them through Apple Podcasts. There's Spotify, iHeartRadio, and I love the fact that it's there, because one of my favorite radio stations, Radio 104.5 here in Philadelphia, is part of iHeartMedia. So I think it's kind of cool that it's there. And there are a few other places. Again, wherever you get podcasts, you can get the I Can't See You podcast. And again, it's just 7 letters, ICANTCU. I do appreciate it. If you have any ideas on upcoming episodes you'd like me to talk about or people you think would be interesting to hear from that have some sort of blindness perspective, whether they are blind or they deal with blind folks and how they deal with blind folks, please let me know. ican'tseeyouPodcast@gmail.com or at 646-926-6350. Leave a message on the voicemail there, and I'll use it on the show, unless you say not to. And I'd love to hear from you. And again, any kind of comments or anything else would also be welcomed at either of those places, voicemail or email. And so, as I mentioned, it's 2020. And I've kind of been looking forward to this year because obviously I've never had 20/20 vision. I just like the idea of, here I'm saying something about 20/20 and, I'm roughly 2400. So it's a bit of a difference. And there's just a lot of play on words that you can do. I've started a couple of other things to do some affiliate marketing with ClickBank products that have used 20/20 as the lead for the accounts, both YouTube and Instagram. And at this point, that's the only 2 places I will try what I'm going to try there. But I just think it's funny. Again, it's a big play on words, 20/20, and I don't. So as I mentioned, a couple of things I want to do in the podcast, with this podcast. I'm going to have more guests on this year. I think it's probably a little bit more fun to listen to someone else besides me talk for as long as I do. I will have, and I know I've said this for a while now, I will have Aaron from White Cane Coffee, and I think I may have another fantasy football episode if I can get the 2 guys who said they want to get on the show. Brian, who is the commissioner of the league and who lost the championship game, and Nick, who is the owner of the Montreal Beavers he won the championship. And I found out that even though I've only done the league 2 years, it's been going for 4. And Nick has won it every year except last year when I lost to Brian. So last year he wasn't in it at all, but every other year Nick has won it. And I just think that's funny. Oh, and if you couldn't guess by the name Montreal Beavers, he's Canadian and lives in Canada. So I think that's even funnier. And I'm going to reach out to them in the next week or 2. So I may have that may coincide with when the Super Bowl, the actual Super Bowl happens. That we might have that episode. But I have those 2 things in mind, and I've got a couple other things in mind. So moving forward, that's what I hope to have here. I also hope to have some more things on YouTube. As I said, tomorrow, if things go okay with these new Rincon iView video glasses, I will start putting more stuff up. I had hoped to start this earlier. I was having trouble with the last pair of the Rincon glasses, so I had returned those, and they sent me another pair. So I'll see how that goes. And again, wish me luck with them tomorrow as I leave from my home here in Swarthmore and trek to New York City, and hopefully make my way to MoMA. Or if I cheat and end up at B&H, I'll have some video from there, I suppose. I don't know why. Unless I can do some affiliate marketing maybe with them. I don't know. But that'll be coming up probably next week, depending on what goes on tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to actually going to New York. And funny thing is, we were just in New York on Monday. We took Jane back home. She was in for just short of a week. She had come in on Christmas Eve to celebrate Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Hanukkah, and we took her back on Monday and had hoped to do some things around the city, but it was a pretty rainy, miserable day the whole time we were there, and so we basically only had lunch and and that was it. Didn't really do too much else. And it was, again, I still love going to New York. We jumped on the, coming home, we took the subway. Going, we walked all the way over from her apartment over to Brookfield Place, which is a big mall complex. Brookfield and Westfield also has the Oculus there. They had a little winter village in there, but the winter village we wanted to go to was at Bryant Park, just around the corner from where Jane works, in Midtown. And, so Liz looked at some ornaments, and I think Jane looked at some as well. But basically it was like going to the mall, a big mall with, a whole bunch of train lines into it. But a very cool building, and I've had pictures. We've done some pictures from there before. But it's a very neat place to be. And so we did that and then took the subway back home. But walking there all the way there, we basically walked down Wall Street from her apartment, and, we passed the stock exchange, and they have a big tree near the exchange just off Wall Street, and Christmas tree. Obviously a big tree wouldn't really matter too much, I guess. And made our way over in the rain. And we only took the subway back because there's a place at Brookfield that has these great baguettes, which we absolutely love. And we usually eat some on the way home. And, because we had a very late lunch or an early dinner, whatever you want to call it, on Monday. So that was kind of our dinner on the way home, some baguette. And we also stopped at my favorite place on West Broadway on the way home called La Durée for some macarons. And we actually got hot chocolate this time because Jane had gotten hot chocolate from there a week or so ago, right before she had come home, and was talking about how it seemed like it was just melted chocolate. And you were drinking melted chocolate, and it was really good. Liz and I really liked it. And weirdly enough, it stayed hot for so long. I couldn't get over, how long it stayed so hot. It was very different than hot chocolate, other hot chocolate that I've had. And the only thing I thought it was missing, I love a little bit of cinnamon in hot chocolate, and actually, I wouldn't mind a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of cayenne pepper to make it a Mexican hot chocolate, but it would have been great with even just a little bit of cinnamon. So again, probably one of my favorite places to go in New York is La Durée at 345 West Broadway. And I even thought about going there tomorrow, but that's so far down and kind of out of the way from every place. And since we were just there on Monday, I figured I don't need to go there again. And certainly don't want to start off the new year gaining a few pounds from eating passion fruit macaron and having another hot chocolate from there, especially since we're going to go to dinner after Jane gets done work. But that's one of the things that I hope to do, and I'll get into them in a minute. Some of the other than podcast episodes that I want to tackle throughout the year is travel. Again, I said last year I wanted to travel more, and I did. I think every month I went somewhere, and many months it was traveling and staying overnight somewhere other than here in my home in Swarthmore. But as far as the podcast goes, like I said, I'll have some guests on. So I'm reaching out to some other folks that have issues, either blindness issues or are folks that can help people with blindness or visual issues, and hopefully I'll have guests on more of the times than not. I don't mind doing a show solo like this. I actually am surprised that I can speak for so long and about certain things. And here, as I look at the clock now, I'm 14 minutes in, and still have plenty of other things to talk about. As far as other podcast ideas go, I definitely hope to start something new, and I just haven't figured out what I want to do. Whether I do something that coincides with the blind taste test YouTube thing that I want to start. And I haven't figured out exactly a format on how I want to do that. It will really depend on how the video glasses do tomorrow. If I want to do it completely that way, where I basically have to find my way to a certain restaurant, whether it's a restaurant I already like and know, or if it's a new one. We'll see. So I don't know if I'll start a podcast on that as well, or if that's just going to be a YouTube thing. I kind of like diners, drive-ins, and dives. He goes to all these different places. I certainly am not going to go behind the counter and go back into the kitchen and ask them to make their specialties. But I would envision I would order a couple of the things that are their main dishes, what they're known for. And obviously I would go to places that I like at the beginning, just to make it a little easier, because I already know a little bit about them, and just to get an idea and a general idea of how I'm going to do each YouTube episode. So if that goes, maybe I'll do a podcast on that. Liz has two addictions. One of them is chai tea lattes, 6 pumps, non-fat, no water, no foam from Starbucks. If you ever want to get her one, she'd appreciate it, I'm sure, unless she's already had it for the day. She usually doesn't do 2 in one day. Unless it's summer, then she'll get one iced in the afternoon. And she goes every day to Starbucks. She's usually there somewhere between 6:45 and 7 o'clock on her way to work. At the Walden School. So that's one of her things. The other thing that she has are recipes. She has binders and binders of recipes that she has from any kind of show that she's seen on Food Network, sometimes other places, but mostly Food Network. So her goal this year is to have once a week to do a recipe that she has in the book. And so I thought that we could kind of also do that in a video where, she shows how to make so-and-so's whatever she picks. Obviously there are, folks on Food Network that we love more than others as far as their recipes. Ina Garten is one of my favorites, and most of the stuff that we try from her, we love. Trisha is another one. Ree Drummond is another one. And then there's some others that we've made some things that we like and some things that we don't. So that's an idea that, maybe we'll start doing that, and maybe we'll do, something like that to incorporate into the blind taste test. And again, once I start those videos, I'll mention it here, obviously, and that will not be on youtube.com/DavidBenge. That will be on youtube.com/blindtastetest, which I secured a little while ago. So those are some things that I'm thinking about as far as podcasts go, as far as YouTube goes. Other things, obviously, with YouTube, just me getting out and about and going places and doing things. Sometimes it might be fun to kind of tag along and see what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I kind of like that idea to do that as far as YouTube goes. And again, all depends on the glasses, or if I find some other means to record it on my own so I don't have to have somebody with a camera following me around. Because when there's someone with a camera, it changes the dynamic on how I actually do things. When I'm on my own, I have to talk to other people that I don't know, whether it's just some guy selling something on the street, or it's another person walking by, or maybe it's somebody I've literally just run into, and saying, hey, that street in front of me, is it this or is it that? And hopefully tomorrow with the video glasses, if they work well, you'll see what I mean when I walk to, fingers crossed, when I walk to MoMA. But we'll see. So that's an idea. As far as podcasts go, I still really love the idea of doing a music podcast. And again, you can't play music on podcasts. The licensing does not allow it. But it would basically be talking to, in my case, I love alternative rock, so it would be talking to different alt rock bands. As I've mentioned before, I have the domain name Alt Addict. I have the YouTube account Alt Addict, so if I wanted to do video there, I think I have all the socials for Alt Addict set up. And I know I have Instagram, and I know I have YouTube, and I believe we have Twitter as well. I'm not 100% sure there. So, something like that, I don't know. And I'd probably need a little bit more equipment to do that, especially if I were recording them in the same place as the band is. Because right now, I've got a USB headset with a microphone plugged into my computer, into my iMac, and that's how I'm recording this podcast episode. And I think I've shared this before. I bought it from Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can see it. And it really doesn't take much more than that to get started in podcasting. So, if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, it's not expensive to get going in it. You have that expense, and you have the hosting, which I use Libsyn. I don't think I have any kind of affiliate accounts there, but I can certainly put a link into that. If I do have an affiliate account, believe me, I'm going to use it. But I pay about $15 a month, for the podcast hosting. The other hosting, the website hosting for where I put the show notes at iCan'tSeeYou.com, and where I also have a blog. I host that through Digital Graphics Design, which is the web and web design and development company and marketing company that we do. So those are my plans for YouTube and for podcasts. And if you have any ideas, if you have, hey, I'd like to do this kind of podcast, will you help me out? I'd certainly be up for co-hosting something with you in a field that you have, that you're interested in, or at least helping you get set up and getting you started on your own. Again, I think it's a lot of fun doing it. As I was telling a friend earlier this week, when I went to high school and college, I wanted to be on TV and radio. And, obviously, by my age, all of that stuff was, all the stuff that you can do now wasn't around. I mean, we're talking, 1980s. And, there was no YouTube, and there was no way of podcasting and that sort of thing. So, but now you can do that, and you can reach a lot of people, whether you're doing video on YouTube or you're doing stuff on Instagram or whatever, or you're doing a podcast. And I'm not saying my podcast reaches even hundreds. We're still talking tens a year in. But I do appreciate every one of you that listens on a regular basis. And, I can give some shout outs to Dan and Alex and to Chris, and if you're there every week for me, I really do appreciate it. But, we're trying to grow it. And I think by having some guests and not listening to me ramble on and on and on, I think we'll make it more enjoyable for a lot more people. So those are some ideas that I have. And again, if you have any ideas, please let me know. 646-926-6350. You can leave a voicemail there, or iCan'tSeeYouPodcast@gmail.com. Remember, I Can't See You is only 7 letters, though it sounds like a lot more. ICANTCU podcast@gmail.com. As far as general wishes and hopes and dreams for the year, and again, something that's carrying forward from last year, I hope to make some more money affiliate marketing. My goal is to build up affiliate marketing income to the point where I have enough to pay for health insurance for Liz and I and the kids. Jacob is going to be 26 in another week, actually literally a week from today. On the 7th is his birthday. And so by the end of 2020, he's going to need to find his own insurance. Right now, he's able to stay on ours. And Jane will be able to, or Jane right now is currently on ours, and since she's just turning 23 on the 2nd, she can stay on ours for a few more years. But I think it would be great if we had some sort of consistent income coming in where we can do the insurance and, they can all become part of Digital Graphics, and we can have our insurance paid for, where we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about Liz staying where she's working now if she wants to move on, or when we do move on, because one of our other goals is to start to look to warmer climates to move, which I know I mentioned a couple of episodes ago. I hope to take a couple of trips this year to take a look around and see if there's a place that we'd like to go to. And we don't really have too many limiting factors. It's just got to be a fairly warm place. Humidity sometimes can be an issue with psoriatic arthritis. I'm guessing with arthritis in general, but I know for psoriatic, humidity can be an issue. So I'm a little concerned there. Our goals are to find a place that has bodies of water, most likely oceans, not rivers. We'd like to be like a beach type of place. Obviously, all of the southeast and most of the south along the Gulf Coast, and one of the places that we've also strongly thought about, not that either Liz or I have ever been, St. Croix is a place that we've talked about. In fact, my fantasy football team is called the St. Croix Anole. And Anole is a lizard, and the St. Croix Anole is the one that are obviously found on St. Croix. And we don't know that we'll even like it there to go. And we're not against looking elsewhere. If you asked me 6 months ago, I would have considered places like Ecuador or places like that. But with all the unrest that's going on in South America, both in Chile and Ecuador and a few other places, I don't know that we would consider moving there at this point. Obviously, Spain is another place, Canary Islands. Actually, it seems that the Canary Islands is where my great-grandfather is from. And I hope to find out more because I've already done 23andMe. I just signed up to do Ancestry DNA. So I'll do that in the next couple of days, and then, we'll get some more information there. Because I know I have some other family members who haven't done 23andMe. So I'm hoping that shows some more. And again, I'm not moving there because that's an ancestral home. It's just that I know it's warm and, and it's obviously the islands, the Canary Islands are surrounded by water. And, the only trouble there or Spain itself is, no habla for Liz or I. So that would be something that we'd have to learn. And again, not just thinking, along there, either the Atlantic coast or the Mediterranean coast of France, maybe even Italy. I don't know that we'd go further east in Europe, and we certainly are not moving to Russia, which is my dad's side ancestral home. And first of all, that's up north, so that's no good. And again, we'd also consider places like Australia and New Zealand, again, where there's warmer climates. So to the north of those places, I'm guessing is going to be warmer. So that's one of our goals, is to go a couple of places this year to do that. And I did say we don't have a problem staying in the U.S. I would like to travel outside the lower 48 states. Again, we might not leave and might end up in Hawaii or might end up in the Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico or something like that. That's what I mean by not, traveling outside of the lower 48. I want to travel outside of the lower 48 as one of our look arounds go. And maybe we won't even be going to look around. Maybe we're just going to take a trip at some point. Liz has a few months off in the summer, so we do have those options to go places. So that's another big goal for me. We haven't really traveled a lot and haven't traveled really too far, other than our trip to London a couple of years ago when Jane was studying abroad. We went to London twice, kind of to take her and then to pick her up. Let's face it, we said it was to take her and pick her up. It was because we wanted to go and we had the opportunity to go. So that is another big goal for this year. And there's going to be some other trips within the U.S. and even within Pennsylvania, going to the NFB convention, national convention, which is in Houston in July, and the NFB of Pennsylvania state convention, which is in Pittsburgh in next November. I know I'll be going to those places. Hopefully I'll be going to a few others, maybe back to State College. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then there's, maybe there's other National Federation of the Blind stuff that may go on. I don't know. And, I'll have some more obligations with our current chapter, that the Keystone chapter of the National Federation of the Blind, because it seems like I'm going to be the treasurer of that, and we'll see once there are elections. I don't know that I'll be elected, but I've been asked to become the new treasurer, and I look forward to that challenge because it will be a challenge, to get it modernized. The person who does it now doesn't use a computer at all, so I'm interested to see how I'll handle that. I obviously also have some obligations here in our condo here in Swarthmore, since I was elected president of the condo association in December by the board. And so that will really kick off this month. First meeting is in a couple of weeks. So there's already been some issues, and not 100% sure how to handle some of them. If anyone knows, this might be a good question to throw out there to everyone. We have a serious problem of folks smoking marijuana here. Now, in Pennsylvania, marijuana is not legal for recreational use. And to the best of our knowledge, you cannot smoke medical marijuana. You can vape it, and obviously you can get it in food and some other things. And I have to confirm this before our meeting because there's an issue with a very strong smell of marijuana throughout our building, whether it's in the hallway. And I always joke with Liz, sometimes I walk out into the hallway and it is just so strong. I always joke with her that I need to have some Doritos. So if you have any ideas, if you're in Pennsylvania, you're more familiar with the law, please reach out to those email address, which is ican'tseeyoupodcast@gmail.com, or the voicemail 646-926-6350. And let me know. I'm actually going to call. There's a medical marijuana place not too far from my house here that on Friday I was planning on calling. I would have called tomorrow had I not been going to New York, but I've got some other things to do there. And so I've got to find out about that because a lot of people have complained about it. There's one poor guy who is a pastor at his church that either lives above somebody that smokes weed or next to somebody that smokes weed, and it has gotten into his closet. So all of his clothes smell like weed. So so he's going to church. I can't even imagine, just getting in the car. What if he's pulled over and he smells like he's been smoking pot? And and that's obviously an issue. On both sides of us, on the one side where we share a side with a neighbor, people in there smoke marijuana, and across the hall, the guy over there smokes marijuana. Now, the guy across the hall has claimed that it's medical marijuana, and I believe him. The person next door has said that as well, but, that I don't know. And again, what I found online, it doesn't seem like you can smoke it. It seems like you have to vape it, but, I'll find out more. So if you know, please reach out. Love to hear from you on those places, or again, any of the social connections, at David Benge on Twitter. Connect with me and let me know. So those are some things that I have to do here. And a couple other things that I can do to help out the National Federation of the Blind, which I'm looking forward to doing. The state National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania, they have an office that goes virtually unmanned each day. A couple days a week, some people go in, but I was going to take a couple of days and try that and see how that goes, answering the phones, figuring that while I'm there not answering the phones, I can make calls, try to raise money for the organization. There's an issue with, we've got to fill in some shortfalls in revenue. Rent has gone up and things like that for the offices. So, I want to try and help them do that as much as I can. And I obviously already have with my, my birthday fundraising challenge, which thanks to everyone who donated to that. That there was a couple of bucks that went in that way, 260 to be exact. And again, if you donated, I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. So that's those are my plans for the year. Again, just like last year, I hope to make more with the affiliate marketing. As I mentioned, I want to build up the revenue there. And we'll see how it goes. I want to do more YouTube, whether it's with the affiliate marketing or in general for the Blind Taste Test or my own personal YouTube accounts. So that's what I've got going on. What do you have going on? What are your goals for the year? What do you hope to accomplish by the end of 2020? I'd also like to know that. So again, reach out to me, whether it's by social account, again, at David Benge on all the socials, 646-926-6350. Let me know. And or ican'tseeyou@gmail.com. And I really appreciate you listening for the last year and change to the I Can't See You podcast. If you would, I'd appreciate it if you rated and reviewed the podcast. Maybe the way I'm speaking today, you won't give me a good mark. And please, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode and you help us grow. And stay tuned for more great podcast episodes throughout 2020. And again, a very happy and healthy new year to you and your family. I hope it's your best year yet. And thanks again for listening to the I Can't See You podcast.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast. Follow David on Twitter. He is at David Benge.